In this video, I'm going to go over how you find the equation of a line using the point-slope formula and 2 points. We're going to write first x1 and y1 under the first coordinate, and then we're going to write x2, y2 for the second coordinate. So let's do that right now with the negative 2, 3. We're going to call that x1 and then y1, and then the second point will be x2 and y2. Now we can go ahead and use that in our slope formula, which again is the slope m is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So now you have it labeled, it'll be easy to just plug in those values that we found before. So we're going to find the slope is going to be, remember it's the second y, the y2, take away the y1, and then we write that is going to come out to be, okay, so what do we know? We know that the y2 in our case is a negative 3, and then we put y1 as the 3, so we do negative 3 take away 3. And then in the denominator we have x2 minus x1, so the x2 was that negative 5, and the x1 was the negative 2. So make sure when you do minus the negative 2, you're putting the negative 2 in parentheses. So on the top we have negative 6. In the denominator, remember, it's negative 5 take away a negative 2, so we're really adding 2. Negative 5 plus 2 is negative 3. So the slope is negative 6 over negative 3, which simplifies to just 2. So now we've found the slope. The third thing we want to do is use what's called the point slope formula. Y minus y1 equals m parentheses x minus x1. So we know a lot of those things already, right? We know the slope, which is m, and we know an x1 and y1 point. And for y and x, we're just going to use the letters y and x to stay in the formula. y1 and x1 are specific points in that first coordinate. So let's take, there's the formula right there, y minus y1 equals m parentheses x minus x1. So we go ahead and just write the letter y, and then when we go minus y1, again we're going to use what we labeled y1, which is the 3. That's going to equal, now we put m, which is the slope, which we found was 2. Make sure then you put a parentheses, and again you write just the letter x. Subtract, then you put in your point x1, which is the negative 2. And again, we have to make sure when you're subtracting the negative 2, we put the negative 2 in parentheses. So then we can actually end up distributing that x minus negative 2, making that an x plus 2 inside the parentheses. It's still in the parentheses. We have the 2 out front of that. Now we have to distribute the 2 into that parentheses. So where the slope is 2, I'm going to multiply into the parentheses. I'm going to go 2 times x, and that 2 times the plus 2. So 2 times x is the 2x plus 4. So that equals 2x plus 4. And on the left side we still have y minus 3. So we want to get that y alone by adding 3 to both sides. And we're going to add the 3 to the 4. So that will cancel out the 3's on the left. We'll get y is equal to the 2x plus 7. So your final equation in slope-intercept form is y equals 2x plus 7. So let's take a little example of similar, but we're given a table of values, and we have to represent them as points first. So in the table of values, we have y. Notice we write when x and y. So I wrote those as coordinates, the first two, 4, 6, and 6, 3. Those are a combination of x and y. And now we know that the x1 is 4, the y1 is 6, and then the x2 is 6, and the y2 is 3. So now I wrote those coordinates out, and I know which is x1 and which one is x2 and so on. Now I only need 2 of the 3. There's 3 in the table, but I'll just use the first 2 combinations, the 4, 6 and the 6, 3. And I'm going to do the same thing that I just did in the previous example. I'm going to use those 2, and I'm going to have to find, we're going to label each one as x1, y1 and x2, y2. So now we can use the slope formula. So now you know what x1 and y1 and x2 and y2 are. Let's use the slope formula. And remembering, what is the slope? It is m, and it equals the y2 minus y1 over the x2 minus x1. In other words, the second y coordinate minus the first over the second x coordinate minus the first. When we calculate that, we put that into the formula, m is going to equal, well, the y2 we listed as 3 minus the 6 for y1 over 6 minus 4 is the x2 minus x1. That all simplifies to a negative 3 over 2, so our slope is negative 3 halves. Now we found the slope. Now we do the point slope formula, which again is y minus y1 equals m parentheses x minus x1. We always rewrite just the letter y. We then do minus the y1 coordinate, which we said is 6. That equals, put the slope we found, which is the negative 3 over 2. Make sure you put a parentheses. You're going to write just the letter x, and then you're going to write minus, and then what was the x1 value? It was 4, so we'll put a 4 there and end the parentheses. And now we have to distribute that negative 3 halves that's in front of the parentheses. We have to multiply it into both terms in the parentheses. So we're going to have negative 3 halves x. And then notice how after that we have a minus sign. Negative 3 halves x minus, and then we need to multiply the negative 3 halves times the 4. So that is negative 12. That's positive 12 over 2, so it's 6. So we've got y minus 6 equals negative 3 halves x plus 6. Add 6 to both sides to cancel that negative 6 on the left side. You end up getting y alone, which is y equals negative 3 halves x plus 12. And now you have this formula in a slope-intercept form, just from the table values.